The first image that comes to my mind is a man hating
I think of a
short-haired
powerful woman. I think of
lesbians.
someone that doesn't like men, and I think of just
To be
authoritative
treated
figures.
the same as men, if not better, but at the same time, they want all the benefits of being a woman.
I think the fact that we're even having this conversation right now about stereotypes of feminism and people that are afraid to call themselves feminists suggests that, or it doesn't even suggest, it implies that patriarchy, it still exists.
Firstly, feminism is often thought of as a North American thing, but it's not. It's really global, and feminism applies really differently around the world. So it would be impossible for my feminism to be exactly the same as some girl in Pakistan, for example, because our circumstances are radically different.
There's many strains of feminism, liberal feminism, radical feminism, standpoint feminism, sex-positive feminism, post-structural feminism. It could go on.
Not only do they not believe in the same thing, I think feminists come into it, I think people come to feminism from very different positions. It could be professional, it could be personal, it could also be a range of socioeconomic positions, political positions, all of that. I think sometimes, frankly, the diversity of the feminist movement can create problems for it.
Feminism is about more than making women equal to men. It's about dismantling all systems of oppression, and those systems of oppression affect men and women equally, I would say.
There's almost as much of a need, actually more of a need for men to be feminists than women, right? Because a lot of the stereotypes that, that affect men are really hurtful for men as well. So quite the opposite, quite the contrary. I actually think that one of the things that feminism tries to do is also make the world a better place for men.
Feminism is a space where the oppressed can talk about what is oppressing them and ways to change that. And I think the issue isn't having men in feminism. The problem is when their voices are heard louder than anyone else's voices.
For feminists to say, you can say something, but you can't say something because of your anatomy, I think that if anyone actually espouses to real change, then they wouldn't be alienating people that are on the same side as them.
Women don't hate family. That's a ridiculous statement. What they want are family environments and family types that enable them to thrive optimally.
I think what they're trying to break down is the ideas that genders have to act a certain way and they have to fit into certain familial roles.
This is just kind of an idealized family that's been pushed on the Western world because that's how it works. It works good in suburbs, it works good for the factory, it works good for the politician, and that, you see this reproduced on images on the television, media all the time, and it's just the assumption of how this should be. And this is kind of the root of feminism, is a critical analysis of what is otherwise taken for granted.
It's interesting that someone, and a lot of people do think this, that an ideology can come out with everyone looking the same, like well, not even looking the same only, not only being ugly or butch, but also being a lesbian, as if your sexuality has to do with the way you think about the world and the way you express the way you think about the world. So I think that I think that stereotype is really just a low blow.
What it assumes is that because you're asking for a different type of reality, you're asking for the norm to be changed, that automatically you must be mad because the norm is treating you badly. It is, but not for those reasons.
It's an easy way to make someone feel insecure and not want to put their opinions out there. And for a lot of girls, I think that especially when they're younger, they don't want to identify with a group that has a reputation of being sort of ugly or unattractive in some way. So I think that scares a lot of people away, and that's really unfortunate.
I'm always very troubled by these terms, pro-choice and pro-life, because to me they're actually pro-choice and anti-choice. People who tell you that they are pro-life are typically actually anti-choice. And no one, that I can think of, like no one who professes to be feminist would say that women should use abortion as a means of birth control. Those are the way that they vilify, feminists, right?
I'm sure there are feminists that would say, I'm a feminist and I believe all those things, but I personally can't be pro-choice for these reasons, and I respect that too, because that's their choice. But I think when it comes to a political movement, which feminism ultimately is, that's a big part of it.
You can flip through the Old Testament and it's a horror story of male domination over women, a female can't approach a holy man, a female can't approach a place of worship, all of this crazy sort of thing. A female, while she's menstruating, has to be brought away from the greater group, and it's just this idea of domination. It's this idea of putting them in their place in these androcentric power structures that have been apparent from, seemingly the dawn of time.
Most religions, and I won't speak for all of them, do have a very strong misogynistic undertone to it. But by the same token, we all pick and choose selectively, right? In our lives, we pick, at least I think a lot of us today, educated people, we pick our values very, very eclectically. So we like one part of one system, another part of another. So there are aspects about religion that people find tremendously comforting. So when we haven't even closed these really basic gaps, to accuse women of being, that they're victimizing themselves and that they're crying for, we've already reached equality. That's another way of dismissing a very valid movement.
And it's not hard to see historically that women have been victimized in the past. So to assume that it has just poof gone away is sort of naive. And I think that bringing attention to areas in society that there is still an element of victimization isn't playing the victim so much as just trying to go toward a more just society.
Revolutions don't have to be about poor people rising up or disenfranchised people rising up and slitting the throats of the others. That's not how I think of revolution. I think of revolutions as being quiet revolutions as well. And to the extent that feminism effectively asks for the world to change, I think it's a group of, in a sense, unreasonable people, and I use that in a very positive way. I think it's very good to be an unreasonable person, because if you're a reasonable person, what you do is you adapt to the world, right? You try to adapt to the world because you think there's no choice. Unreasonable people say, no, actually, I'd like the world to adapt to me.
I think all feminists are, in a way, revolutionaries, because in order to advocate feminism, you're not just advocating that women, have equal chance of getting a job or something like that. It's a lot more radical than that. It's more about finding the systems in place that are perpetuating these things, and working to actively challenge them.
You like our frame? You like our frame? A new kind of frame of mind. Sweet and a sour, hands in the fist, a new kind of womankind. Open up, oh, we're falling down. Open up, oh, we're falling down. Isolation, sanctuary. open up.